Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I got Debora McLaughlin on the phone, and she's a writer as well as a business consultant. She's written fascinating books, a book about what can big business CEOs learn from small businesses, tips for giving employees permission to be brilliant. It's really a fascinating concept because, a lot of these smaller businesses, they're very intuitive, they're very nimble. Large corporations tend to be very bureaucratic, and the larger they are, the more bureaucratic they are, and which can be stifling on a business culture that is trying to be one of excellence and success. Debora, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Kevin.
Yeah, Generation Flux describes entrepreneurs and CEOs, people nimble enough to thrive in our increasingly fast-paced, rapidly changing economy. Talk about this Generation Flux, and is that an actual age group?
No, Generation Flux is mostly an attitude of business owners today, and it certainly is a buy-in of those younger generations, especially the millennial generations that really want to have a say in the decisions that are being made within the business, especially those that affect their day-to-day work, and also want the people at the top, the CEOs and upper management, to pull back the curtain and let them know what the vision is. Where are we going from here? They want to see the big picture.
Yeah, no question about it. And so it seems like for years the traditional big business model was even hostile to this type of nimbleness that you're talking about. Your thoughts?
Yes, and I've worked in big corporations in New York City and Boston. I've served as a business consultant for small organizations that are bent on growing. And what ends up happening over time is as organizations grow, they start to add all these different layers in their growth process, and those layers are what shut off the information flowing to the people who are most in tune to what problems are or what options there are for innovation. And now that's the people closest to the products, closest to the customers, closest in their industry.
Yep, very interesting. And before we go any further, tell us the name of the book itself.
It's The Renegade Leader, 9 Success Strategies Driven Leaders Use to Ignite People, Performance, and Profits.
Yeah, and the book can be found at renegadeleader.com. So what's interesting, why is it that we find these various layers in traditional businesses stifling to creativity?
Well, it stifles creativity because as organizations grow, they tend to forget about what it meant to be a startup. If you picture a startup, and as I called on organizations of all different sizes, I can clearly remember, calling on a small business in Cambridge, which might have been, the startup of, a large, internet company at the time. And, they were just riveting with ideas. Their conference rooms were where people showed up and really were inspired about what the future of that company was. And, people left with, greater communication and willing to take action. And what's happening now is that employees, because they're often only given a piece of the puzzle to work with, that, honestly, Kevin, between you and I think more people are fueled by their coffee than they are about their spirit in the workplace these days.
So, absolutely, I think you're absolutely true about that. The bureaucracy creates a culture of bureaucracy that is stifling. Plus, you got a lot of territorial issues, don't you? Hey, this is my territory. But unfortunately, sometimes ideas transcend different departments.
Yes, right, exactly. And, I actually just had a manager leave my office this morning that was, saying that, I've worked in his company for quite some time now about building a culture of creativity and collaboration and building portals where people can, provide their ideas so that every employee has a voice. But his feedback was, it's great that we have all that, but sometimes the leaders forget they asked us to foster ideas, but then they don't hear them at the top, or we don't know what they're ever doing with them, or we never receive any feedback. So over time, it's kind of like, why bother, really being engaged? Why bother sharing any creative idea that I have if nobody's really going to take it or hear it or value it?
Yeah, eventually becomes a little more than a comment box or complaint box.
Right, yes.
But, I think most of those are folded into paper airplanes.
Oh, yes, right. That's the dusty box in the corner. What I really love is when I work with organizations, and honestly, I think at first the CEOs do think I'm a little bit crazy when I talk to them about transparent communication and providing some sort of portal for employees to be able to have a say in their work. But the best of organizations have kind of built their like an internal social networking, technology, so that people can not only just hear from the CEO of what's going on, and I tend to try and get them out on video if they're brave enough to do so. But they also have places where they can put ideas, where focus groups can be started. And everybody now is on the path of, how can we be better? How can we improve things? How can we stand out in our industry? And it really starts a vibration of positivity that wasn't there before.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Well, with this minute or so left, I do want to mention over at usdailyreview.com, we've got a great summary of your book with a link that goes back to your website. So we like to connect people through usdailyreview.com, our sister news website. Real quickly, if you want to know what those 9 strategy points are, I'll just run through them. Inspire top performance, create a high-trust environment, foster leadership at all levels, tune in to your employees, unlock the potential of your teams, create a unified culture, celebrate wins in a way that motivates employees, build collaboration, and vibrate with innovation and the appreciation of each individual. And, as you read that list, you did a pretty good job of nailing that those areas that seem to do very well in smaller businesses, but really don't do very well in large ones. And so it looks like an excellent list.
Yes, and you, I have to say, you put that together as a great summary. I'm going to be sending my people there as a reminder.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I do want people to check it out. By the way, the website is therenegade.com. Debora McLaughlin has been our guest, and Debora, your background before you wrote this book, what led you to write it?
Yes, well, what led me to write it, I rode the high-tech wave in corporations in New York City and Boston myself. So I'm, used to kind of the struggles at the top, calling upon the C-suite. And then when I started a career in coaching, so many professionals would come to me that were just so miserable in their jobs. And my first take was to work with them or to work with the managers that other divisions, but I really wrote the book because I realized that the greatest impact that I can have in my work is to start out at the CEO level, really getting them to understand that, today's workforce has changed. They want different things within their organization, and the benefits that an organization can gain in both performance and profitability, if they listen to these types of things. And so that's what really prompted me to put what I knew had worked in the companies that I worked with that were experiencing high growth all into the influence framework.
Got to wrap it up. Debora McLaughlin, by the way, it's not the only book she wrote. When you check out therenegade.com, click the books navigator there on the top. And Debora, I look forward to having you on in the future. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, much more for you. Stay tuned to it right here on The Price of Business.